So on the online topic 3 test, what I want you to do is once you get this loaded up, I want you to go to question 24. We're going to go over that first. There's a couple questions on there that are not going to be covered until later on this year from chapter 3, lesson 7, which is how to stretch, compress horizontally, vertically, and do transformations of linear functions. We're going to do that later. So if you go to question 24, there's an application problem on that, and it's asking you to determine the effects of the graph of a parent function, f of x is equal to x, for the g of x function, g of x is equal to f of 6 times x. All that means is that you'd plug in a 6x for x. And so if you had a parent function, which is the graph of y is equal to x, compared to the graph of g of x being y is equal to 6 times x, well, what's the graph of the one that's 6 times x compared to the parent function? The graph would be 6 times steeper because the slope is a 6 compared to the slope being a 1. So that would be B. Once again, that's not going to be tested on your test tomorrow. Question 25 is one that's not going to be tested on the test tomorrow either. So if you have f of x is equal to x, which is your parent function, okay, and g of x is equal to f of x minus 4, what does that do to the parent function? Well, basically, here's what it does. If that's the equation or the line of my parent function, f of x is equal to x, if you subtract 4 from it, it just moves it down 1, 2, 3, 4 units. And once again, like I said, we'll talk about that later on after we do quadratic functions. So for right now, just put B. And that's the only 2 questions dealing with transformations that are on your review that are not going to be tested on the test tomorrow. So let's go to question number 1 and see what is going to be on the test tomorrow. Questions like this will be on there about rates of change, slopes. What does rate of change or slope tell you? It tells you the rate at which 2 different things are changing, like the price per gallon or feet per second. It's a comparison of 2 things per one of those units. So is a rate of change always negative? Must it be negative? No, sometimes it can be positive, so I know that's false. But why? Well, it would have to be B, and the reason why it's B is that y is equal to 1 times x, which is the parent function, okay, is a counterexample. What's a counterexample? An example that makes it false. It's an example that would disprove the first statement that must be negative, because if I have y is equal to 1 times x, then that slope is a positive 1. And it has a positive rate of change, so that would have to be B. Okay? Any questions about that? Let's go to question 2 then. Tell whether the statement is true or false and explain it. The rate of change for a vertical line is 0. Well, what's a vertical line? A vertical line is one that goes what? Straight up and down like that. Okay? So is the slope of this 0? The slope is what of this? Undefined. So that's obviously false. Why is it false? The rate of change for a vertical line is 1. Nope. The rate of change in x is 0, so the rate of change is undefined. So that would be D. Got it? Now, let's go to the next question 3. Find the slope of a line that passes through these points. How do you find the slope of a line that goes through these points? I'm going to show you 2 ways. Y'all ready? Here's the point, -3, -1, and there's another point at -1, 5. How do you find the slope of this? Well, the slope is the change in y's over the change in x's. So you have to do it in a specific order. I take my second y minus my first y. So I do it in that order there, where it's 5 minus a -1. All over the change in x in that specific order as well. So I'll take my second x, which is -1, and subtract that first x. And that's minus a -3. And then what's your rule for subtraction? Add the opposite. So 5 plus a positive 1 is what? 6. -1 minus a -3. You add the opposite, and that would be a positive what? 2. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. Does anybody know another way of coming up with a slope using technology? How could we come up with a slope using our calculator? Okay, so cut it on, go to your home screen, go to New Document, don't save your last one. Add what? Listen spreadsheets. Title this as X, right, for my X coordinates. Tab over, title this as Y for my Y coordinates. So I can zoom in there a little bit, and then plug in your X and Y coordinate for your first point. -3, tab what? -1. And then this would be a -1, and then tab over and do what? 5. And then now what? Once I've entered them in, go to an empty cell and hit Menu, Statistics, Stat Calculations, and do a what? Linear regression to find the slope and to find the y-intercept. This will tell us the slope. That's what M is, so just hit Enter. And then title your X list was what? X. And then title your Y list as, what did we title it in our little spreadsheet? It was Y. And then tab over and hit Enter. There it is. What's the slope? What's the y-intercept? So what if I asked for the equation for this on the test tomorrow? What would the equation of this line be? Y is equal to the slope times x, so it'd be 3x what? Plus my y-intercept, which is 8. There you go. If it asked for that. Now it didn't, it just asked for the slope. So what's the slope? D. Alright, so let's go to question 4. Find the slope of a line that passes through these pair of points. Why not use technology? Look, let me show you something. It's already entered in your calculator. So I've already got x and y. It's already calculating a regression for me, so why don't I just type over this? No longer is x -3, but in this problem it is 3/4. So hit 3 divided by 4. There's 3/4. Go over here. What's this one? When x is 3/4, what was y in the problem? It's 5. And then my next ordered pair is what? 5/4, so that's 5 divided by 4. And then just tab over. And then my y-coordinate for that is what? 2. And it did another equation for me, and it calculated the slope already. See how the slope changed? Now the slope is -6. So in question number 3, if I said write the equation for it in slope-intercept form, it would be y is equal to -6x plus 9.5. Alright, so what is my slope? What's the y-intercept? So use your technology. Answer the question now. So what's the answer to this question? There you go. B. Any questions so far? Know how to use your technology to do that? Alright, let's go to the next question then. Which of the graphs is the graph of the following equation? Well, look, what form is that in? X plus 2y is equal to 6. It's in standard form. What's the benefit of the standard form? It's easy to find the x-intercept and what else? The y-intercept. What is the x-intercept? Well, that's where y is 0. If I set y equal to 0, I cover that up because 2 times 0 is 0, and x plus 0 is just x. So x plus 0 is equal to 6, so what would x be? Isn't it 6? 6 plus 0 is 6, so the x-intercept is 6. What's the y-intercept? Well, that's where x is 0. So set x equal to 0, and just figure out 2 times what is 6? 2 times what is 6? It'd be what? 3. Why is that helpful? Because it's easy to sketch the graph now. This crosses the x-axis at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This crosses the y-axis at 0, 1, 2, 3. There's a sketch of the graph. Which one of those graphs shows that? Is it A? So y-intercept of 3 and an x-intercept of 6. Yes. Double check your rest and make sure the rest of them are not incorrect. Or are incorrect. So the only thing it can be is A. We good with that? Now let's do question 6 together then. Which one of the lines is the graph of the following equations? Look, this is in what form? What form is that one in? slope-intercept form. So if it's y is equal to 1/2 x minus 3, what's the slope of the line? Isn't that 1/2? What's the y-intercept? -3. So the graph of this has got to cross this y-axis at -3. So it's definitely not A, right? There's not a y-intercept of -3 in A here. So let's look at B. Nope. The y-intercept is 0 here. What's the y-intercept in C? -3. What's the y-intercept in D? Looks like it's 7 or something, 8 or something. So no, it's got to be C. Let's check the slope to make sure that that's right. Remember, slope is a ratio of the rise, or the change in y, over the change in x, which is my run. So this is my up and down change. This is my left to right change. Left to right's on bottom. So I went up 1 unit because my rise is a 1, and then go to the right 1, 2. See, I'm on the graph? Go up 1 to the right 1, 2. You have points on the graph. So obviously it's C. We good? All right, what about the next problem? This should be problem 7. Which one of the graphs is the graph of the following equation? What form is that in? Okay. So tell me a point on the graph then, and tell me the slope of the graph. All right. So first of all, the slope's easy to see. What's the slope? The number in front of the x minus 3 in parentheses, so that would be a -2. And then where is a point on the graph? The x-coordinate is 3 and the y-coordinate is 2. Is that a positive 3?
Yes.
Yes. So it's 3, 2. So to graph that, I'd have to go over here to the right to a point. 1, 2, 3, 2. There's my point at x is 3, y is 2. And then use the slope to find other points, which my slope is -2, which is what? What is my rise over my run? Well, -2 over 1 is equivalent to -2, so I'd have to go down 2, so I rise down 1, 2 units, and then to the right 1, and there's another point on the graph. Right? And then I could go down 1, 2 more to the right 1, down 1, 2 to the right 1. I could find points all day long, and then connect those with a straight line. Got it? So that's what my graph should look like. So look at A. Does it have a point at 3, 2? Nope, it doesn't. What about B? Does it have a point at 3, 2? Nope, it doesn't. What about C? Does it have a point at 3, 2? Nope, it doesn't. So it looks like it's got to be D. Is that a point at 3, 2? 3, 1, 2? Oh, nope. Maybe it's A. Let's see if that is at 3, 2. Maybe I just overlooked it. None of those are right. That's 3, 2. It should be right there. Alright, so that doesn't look right. It looks like there's a mistake on this, unless I just don't see the points. Nope, nope. 3. I think there's a mistake on this graph. It should be right here, right above it. See that right there? And then my slope should be down 2, 1, 2 to the right 1. Nope. Let's see if one even has the right slope, because there would be no correct answer on this. Looks like they made a mistake. Let's see. Find a point, has a slope. Down 2, right 1. Nope, that's even wrong. I don't know, that's an error on this. Okay? There's an error on this. I'll have to go back and look at that. So I'll tell you what the right answer is here in a minute. But for right now, there's not a correct answer. I don't even know what to guess as far as that's the case, other than a negative sloping line. I'd just put A for right now. Like I said, that's not right. It's just a mistake on their part. Okay, so for right now, put A, and we'll check it in a minute. So if it counts it wrong, well, I'll tell you to change it, so y'all don't submit it, obviously, until we've done the whole thing. All right, let's look at this problem. Write the equation in slope-intercept form of this. Okay, well, in this problem, it's easy to put in slope-intercept form if I can solve the equation for y. How do you get y by itself here? Okay, so this x needs to move on the other side of the equation, and that leaves me with what on the left side if I do that? 9y is equal to negative 6x plus 27. And then now what? To get that 9 by itself, I'm going to divide by 9. Divide by 9. So y on the left side is by itself because 9 divided by 9 is 1. 1 times y is y. And then I have to divide each of these terms by 9. So this would be negative 6/9 x plus 27 divided by 9. And then reduce that if I can. Can I reduce that? What number will go into 6 that will also go into 9? Okay, so 3 will. Now, you do realize that your calculator would reduce that for you. So if you just plug in negative 6 divided by 9 and hit enter, it'll reduce it as a fraction for you to be negative 2/3. So don't miss that. That's negative 2/3 x plus, what's 27 divided by 9? 3. So that should be answer choice C. Okay, let's go to the next problem, 9. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. So once again, I'm doing the same thing in this problem. Here's my equation. 7x is equal to 3y minus 12. To put that in slope-intercept form, I just got to get y by itself. So I take that 12 and I do what with it? Move it to the other side, and when it jumps across the equal to sign, it becomes a. So this is 7x plus 12 is equal to 3y. Now to get the y by itself, what do I do? Divide by 3. Divide by 3. 3 divided by 3 cancels out, so I'm left with y is equal to whatever 7 divided by 3 is. And does that reduce? Nope. And then 12 divided by 3. Now it's a positive 12 divided by a positive 3, which is a positive what? 4. Okay? So I put that in slope-intercept form, which is answer choice. Alright, let's go to the next one then. 10. In 2005, a Caribbean nation produced 0.7 million tons of cane sugar. Annual production was projected to decrease by 0.05 million tons each year for the next 5 years. Write a linear function that models this situation. So what is my rate doing of trash? It's going up or down? Okay, so to get the amount of trash in the heap, it would be equal to the rate at which it's declining per year. So it's the rate per year that it's declining, and then I'd have to add what's currently there. So what's the current amount that was there? Does that make sense? So I don't know the amount of trash, I'm just going to say that's y. I do know the rate that it's going down. It's going down by what? Which is a negative because it's going down by 0.05 million per what? Years. So I'm going to multiply that by the number of years. So if it's 1 year, it's going to go down by 0.05 million tons. If it's 2 years, it's 0.05 times 2. 3, 0.05 times 3, and so forth. Plus the current amount that's already there. The nation produced how many tons that was already there? 0.7 million tons. Now remember, my answer is in million tons. Okay? And so which one represents that equation? Y'all see that? It's B. Why? It's going down by 0.057 million tons per year plus the 0.7 that's currently there. Alright, let's look at 11. It says find an ordered pair corresponding to x and y intercepts of the graph of this equation. So basically I'm just giving you this standard form of a line, and I'm asking you for the x and the y intercepts. What is the x-intercept? And tell it to me as an ordered pair. And what is the y-intercept? And tell it to me as an ordered pair. Well, to find the x-intercept, we set y equal to 0. If I set y equal to 0, that makes this no value. So 12 times 0 is 0. So this is just saying 6 times what's 24? What would that be? 4. All right, so what's my y-intercept? Well, that's setting x equal to 0. So if I set x equal to 0 in my ordered pair, that makes that have a value of nothing. So 12 times what is 24? 2. So there's my answer. My x-intercept is at 4, 0, and my y-intercept is at 0, 2. Everybody good with that? All right, let's go to question 12. It says, find the ordered pairs corresponding to the x and the y-intercepts of the graph of the equation. Once again, same problem. How do I find the x and the y-intercept? Here's my equation, negative 5x plus 3y is equal to a negative 24. What is my x-intercept? What is my y-intercept? To find the x-intercept, I set y equal to 0, set that equal to 0, so there's no value there, and just figure out negative 5 times what is equal to a negative 24. Well, to solve that equation, negative 5 times what is equal to a negative 24, you just divide by negative 5, because I can't do that mentally. So it's equal to negative 24 divided by negative 5, which is equal to what? Once again, if you don't know how to reduce that, or if you're not sure, just plug it in your calculator. It's negative 24 divided by what? Negative 5. And it will reduce it for you if it can be reduced. And it can a little bit. It would be a what? Positive 24/5. You got it? So what's my y-intercept? Well, that's where I set x equal to 0. And this one I can do. Can y'all do that one mentally? 3 times what's equal to negative 24? If not, just divide by positive 3. To get that by itself, I just divide by 3, so it's the same thing as saying negative 24 divided by 3, which is a negative what? 8. So which one says that answer? B, right? Everybody get B? All right, let's see if we can get a couple more done, and then I'll leave you some time to work on it on your own. Here's the next question, number 13. It says, write an equation in point-slope form for a line that has the given slope and goes to the given point. Well, point-slope form you don't have to memorize is this. Y minus y sub 1 is equal to m minus, or m times x minus x sub 1. So in order to write this in point-slope form, I just got to plug in the y-coordinate, the x-coordinate, and the slope. So this would be y minus the y-coordinate, which is what of the point that's given? Is equal to the slope, which is times x minus the x-coordinate, which is 0. And then simplify. Y minus a negative 2, our rule is to add the opposite, so that becomes y plus 2, is equal to 1/4 times x minus 0 is just x. There you go. Okay, that's what it could look like if you simplified it down. So the point-slope form is the same thing as the slope-intercept form, or excuse me, it's the same thing as, looks similar to the slope-intercept form, except y is not by itself. So if you don't see that as an answer choice, I can just actually plug in the 0 and leave it there. Typically, it's never written this way, though. Typically, it should be written this way. Anytime you have x minus a number, it's usually just going to leave it as x. So, but for this particular question, you're going to just leave it as y plus 2 is equal to the slope times x minus 0, because that's the x-coordinate of my point. So that should be C. All right, let's see. Write an equation in point-slope form for a line that has a given slope and passes through the given point. Once again, it's the same problem. It'd be y minus the y-coordinate of the point is 1. Is equal to the slope, which is negative 2, times in parentheses x minus the x-coordinate, which is what? 0. So that's what I'd be looking for as an answer. If I don't see that as an answer, another way of writing this is y minus 1 is equal to negative 2 times x. So do I see the first one as an answer? Yep, it should be what? D as in dog. All right, it says, write an equation in slope-intercept form for a line that passes through the two given points. So what are my 2 points that are given to me? 2, 3, and 1, 5. If you want to write an equation in slope-intercept form, why not just go to your calculator and go to New Document, don't save your last, add what? List in spreadsheets, title that as X, title that as Y, and then enter your x coordinate and then your y. And then come over to an empty cell and then just go to Menu, Statistics, Stat Calculations, do a what? Linear regression in slope-intercept form. So it'll do it for you. And x is x, y is y. And there it is. So what's the equation that goes through those 2 points in slope-intercept form? My slope is negative. And then my y-intercept is a positive 7, so you put a plus 7. If that was a minus, you just put minus 7. So which one says that? So that's a gimme. Your calculator will do that one for you. Okay. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for a line that goes through these points. Look, I've already got it. So just go in there and change your points to not be 2, 3, but to be what? 5, then negative 2. Just type right over them. That'll save you some time. Negative 16, tab, and then go over here and change that to a 4 and hit enter. And it's already done for you, so I don't have to go to stat calculations and all that other stuff. So what do I get my slope to be here? The slope is negative 0.2857 whatever, and what's my y-intercept? A negative 0.5714. So how do I write that? Well, I'd write it as my slope is negative 0.2857x minus 0.5714. So which one of these would it be? Well, obviously it's got to be either A or what? C, because my slope is negative. Okay, and then my y-intercept would be a negative, so it looks like it should be A, but let's check it. Is negative 2/7 really the same thing as 0.25 or 0.2857? Well, go to your calculator and just plug in a negative 2 divided by 7. See if I get that negative. And then how do I get it back as a decimal? Hit Control Enter. See, it's the same thing? All right, and then 4/7. So take your negative 4 divided by 7, and then to get it back as a decimal, hit Control Enter. And it's the negative 0.714. So yes, we guessed right. Okay, that's not too bad, is it? All right, so I'm going to do this last one with you, and the rest you're going to do. For a direct variation, describe how the constant of variation affects whether y increases or decreases as x is increasing. Okay, so what this is saying is this. If the constant of variation affects whether the y is increasing or decreasing as x increases. So look, if my x increases and my y increases, what type of a function am I having? A positive sloping line. What if my x increases and my y is doing what? Decreasing as my x increases. I have a negative sloping line. Right? Okay. So if it is a direct variation, though, they have to go through the origin. See, this one doesn't go through the origin, but it could if I make it a decreasing function like this to where it crosses here, and then as my x's increase, my y's decrease. Now, this is a direct variation and this is a direct variation, right? Because they're both increasing or decreasing functions that go through the origin. Okay, so what am I having to do here? I'm having to describe how the constant of variation affects whether y is increasing or decreasing. So this would be y is equal to some k value times x. And what would k be in this problem? If it's increasing, it would be a positive number. And what is k going to be in this value here? If it's going down, it would be a negative number. So which answer choice says that? If the constant is positive, y increases as x increases. And if it's negative, y decreases as x increases. That would be A. Everybody go with that? Okay, so let's check number 7 and see what that is. The rest of these you can do on your own, so I'm just going to stop. And number 7 was the question because that was an error on there. So I'm just going to hit submit. Y'all don't do that, though. Y'all got to finish the rest of this out on your own. So let me just go to 26. And I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And let's see what 7 should have been. See, 7, we just guessed because that one right there was wrong for whatever reason. So let me tell you what that is before you guys go. Let me try it again. It would have to be D. So let me check D real quick before y'all go, and I don't want to tell you wrong. But obviously all of them are wrong. 7. Let me just put D and see what we get. So that way you'll know what to put and you won't miss it. Let me go to 26. And it should be, it's wrong, but it should be, you should get credit for it if you put D, because it's the only one that has a negative slope. Yeah. So 7, just put D as an answer. Okay? So D and you won't miss it. Alright, we'll see you guys. Y'all have a good day.